ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Uchaaran workshop for the Gurmukhee pronunciation. It has 5 lessons in it. I have broken down each lesson into smaller modules. I have pretty much used the building approach, starting with the very fundamental basics of Uchaaran, and then directly go all the way up to reading Gurmukhee, as you will see from the outline. So, Sri Guru Granth Sahib states, आयो सुन पढ़ को बानी, नाम ते सार लगे अन लालच बिथ जन प्राणी. So it is clear the Guru Sahib is saying that we have taken a birth and come to this world to listen and to recite Gurmukhee. Why? Because forgetting the Naam, each of us will waste our, actually the human birth because of the other temptations of the worldly things. So next slide, where Guru Gobind Singh Ji has given us some instructions, and by Desha Singh Ji has captured it in the Rathnama. Guru Sahib Ji has said that Gurmukhee akhar jo hai pai, sing sing te sikha jai, aur jo vidya geh keh hoi, avan te bhi leva soi. So here Guru Sahib is instructing us to actually learn how to actually read and recite Gurmukhee from another saint. So saints should actually learn from another saint. And it also actually signifies that we should actually get other education, such as being an engineer, doctor, or whatever, and we should also get those kind of education from other people. So it is very important to learn how to actually read and recite Gurmukhee. As I mentioned before, there are 5 lessons, and each lesson is broken into smaller modules. Today, lesson 1, we are going to actually cover 3 modules. First one is just introduction, where I'll show you the outline, what these 5 modules consist of, 5 lessons consist of. The other ones will be actually starting with the very fundamentals, and then actually just cover just first part of the grammar, which deals with the orthography of the occurs. Each lesson is 1 hour, so the total workshop consists of 5 hours. And I recommend everybody, that to start with the basics and build upon that one. If you miss something, it may seem, very, very basic and fundamental. But when you talk about Uchaaran, you have to actually start from the pronunciations of the letters and build it to the shabds, words, etc., and then go to the syntax, how the sentences are put together in the Gurmukhee. And that's how you will know where to actually pause and how to pronounce some of the actually lines in Gurmukhee. In the first module, next, we are going to actually cover the fundamentals, grammar fundamentals. We'll start with the definitions of grammar. and its parts, basic parts, and their definition. Next one. So grammar has three parts. Orthography, which is acrobat, it deals with the letters. The next one is etymology, which actually deals with the structure of the words, etc., shabdabod. And the third part is the syntax, which deals with the vakbod, sentences, etc. Let's define grammar. It is a body of rules imposed on a given language for speaking and writing. Orthography, which is the first part, a body of rule imposed on speaking and writing akhar. When I talk about akhar are also words are called akhar, but here we are talking about the basic letters of the script, lagamatra, and the lagakhars, etc. Etymology deals with the constructions of the word and the classification of the words and their basic form, pronunciation, and writing. Syntax is the body of rules imposed for sentence construction, partitioning, punctuation, writing, and speaking. As we know, any language in the world, when you actually speak, it has its grammar. And especially when you are going to actually put it in writing for consistency purpose, so that everybody can understand and come up with the same interpretation, you have to have grammar. And this is exactly what happens in the case of Gurbani. Gurbani also have its own grammar. It is different than Punjabi, significantly in many aspects, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. Especially to understand the Gurbani, you have to understand the Gurbani grammar. Now let's move on to module 2. I'm going to actually start, next chart. In this one, we are going to actually talk about the Gurmukhee scripts, lipi. It may sound very basic, but as I said it before, you have to learn how to pronounce some of the letters in the Gurmukhee script before you can build on the words itself. And next one is these letters are also, when you actually apply some of the, with these letters, when you apply some of the lagamatra, they actually form the vowels, and the vowels are the one which actually produce the dhuni or the sound of the letter. And all the Paintee letters of Gurmukhee script has their dhuni because of these vowels. And then these sounds are also modified by the vowel symbols, such as, actually onkered, such as, actually the Bindee, Tippee, or the other etc., which are called lagakhars. So those are going to be covered in, this particular module. So we are going to be talking about the basic symbols, signs, as well as the sounds of all those letters in this module. Gurmukhee akhar, there are 35 of them, And we are going to be talking about the akhar, the letter, and their tuniya in this module. And I'm also going to actually cover some of the Gurmukhee numbers. The reason we are doing in this particular module is because when we actually look at some of the lakes, etc. in Gurbani, you have to actually recognize what that number is in Punjabi, and also the lakes you have, it's a combination of words as well as numbers. So the appropriate pronunciation of the numbers becomes also significant. Next. There are 35 letters in the Paintee of Gurmukhee. And later on, as the same Paintee is used for the Punjabi also, it got expanded by 6 more letters because of Arabic and Farsi influence. So there are actually total of 41 letters in actually today's Punjabi or Gurmukhee Lipi. So in this, what we will be looking at is those 35 letters. There's a different groups which are called actually words. And then there are different categories of the letters. Some of the letters, they are used to actually form the vowels, etc. Some are consonants, which are called vyanjan. So we are going to cover all 35 letters and categorize them and group them, and we'll actually go through their names, and later on we'll actually talk about their tuniya sounds. So here are the 35 letters. They are arranged pretty much in the letter they appear, abracadabras, etc. And uda, eda, idi, sa, sa, ha, ha. There are 5 across, and when you look at it down, there are 7. 7 times 5 makes it 35. So these are the 35 letters of Gurmukhee. And what I did here is it provided you the transliteration key. As a matter of fact, there's a book I have written which is called Gurbani's Significance and Pronunciation. And all these actually modules I'm actually presenting these are from this particular book, but here I'm presenting it much more detail. But the book contains actually the basic information regarding this whole presentation, which I'm going to be giving in 5 different lessons. And the key is really important for the people who are born in this country so that they can understand how to pronounce actually some of the letters actually, such as eda, what kind of sound it makes. So it just covers it, actually giving you the examples, etc. First of all, actually, if we are going to learn how to read something, so we got to actually recognize all the signs and symbols used in the script of Gurmukhee. Like I said, there are 35 of them. And what this chart shows is right underneath each of the symbols, like this symbol is called uda. This one is called eda. So if you look at that key, how to actually pronounce it, that will tell you, how to pronounce each one of those 35 letters. And also in here, actually on the side of each of the letter, I put down the sound it will make, which is in English, just what kind of A sound, A makes the sound, Eda makes the that sound. But if you go to the key, it gives you exactly how that sound can be pronounced. When I talked about actually expansion of Gurmukhee Lipi from 35 to 41, here are the added And this means these are the letters used from the Paintee, and then, actually in their pad at the bottom, they put a bindee up there, and that actually makes the sound, actually different. And especially when we are going to be going through our Nitnem Banis, when we do jobs out, you will see, there are a lot of words, which we have to actually look at it and then, actually pronounce it with these bindees in order to understand their meaning. The only thing I did in this one is for the lala, all these words, I'm using up here, they are not from Nitnem, but rest of the words are from there. For example, Sasipar Bindi, it makes the Sha sound, which is Shikaste, Shikasta, Khirad, Ganimo, Garival, Zamana, Tamizo, Trazaik, Nival, Harifol. In Punjabi, Ral, Lal, Wal, Shal, Wal, Virna, etc. So you can see that they are different than the fundamental Paintee words, Laledi sound or Sasidi sound. So this is important to actually understand that also. Now let's look at some of the grouping and categories of the Paintee letters. I have arranged them in such a way wherever there is a difference among them, so I put them in a different category. For example, when we talked about Uda, Ada, Idi, Sasa, Haha, the first three letters, Uda, Ada, and Idi, they are not consonant. They are not vowels. They are the letters which are used to actually create the vowels. And all the sounds of the Paintee letters, when you are going to look at it, are due to a vowel, not because of the letter itself. The letter will produce a sound because there's one of the vowels is associated with it. So I put the first three letters up there, so they are the source or the basis for making vowels, etc., etc. And from the first word, which is 5 letters, Sasa, Haha, so they are consonants along with rest of the, actually letters all the way up to the Rada. They are called Vyanjan or consonants. Next one. Okay. In this particular case, now I want to show you that when you actually look at the Yeya and Wawa, they are consonants, but they are also used as vowels some places, especially when they are in the pair or Yeya as a half letter. So they are always actually produce a sound just like a vowel. But if they are in the beginning, they will always actually have a sound of a consonant. And wawa, full wawa, whether it's in the front or in the middle or at the end, it will always produce a consonant sound. But if it's in the pair, then it will produce a vowel sound. And when we go to the sound part of this particular presentation, we'll go through that. Next category is where directly haha comes in. Haha is a special case, I call it. The reason it is called special case, it has the qualities of vowels. For example, when you produce a vowel sound, you keep your mouth open. You do not actually shut your mouth or close your lips. And the sound when it comes in, there's no restriction. As an example, ah, oh, a. Same thing when you actually pronounce or make the sound of ha, ha, your mouth is open. It is very identical to what you do when you are actually pronouncing the vowel sound. But all of the vyanjan, this means there's some kind of a restriction in the air coming out of your stomach through your mouth, and either through the tongue or through the lips or other ways, actually that is restricted. For example, if you are going to say ka sound, you got to have your mouth, actually ka, open lips, but the mouth is closed. And then you open it and you actually let the air out, and that makes a ka sound. So ha is a special case in that, but it does have some of the qualities. That's why when you actually pronounce the words which contain ha, there are many, many different thoughts how they should be pronounced and all that. And that's why it becomes so important to learn. It's a special case along with the yaya. They need actually special attention how to pronounce them. Okay. Now, these sounds which we are going to be making are also, like I said, actually are due to the vowel itself. But there are 10 vowel signs, just like uda, ada, ed, sasa, haha, the names of those letters. Same way, the 10 vowels have their names, like mukta, this means there's no sign with it. Kanna, Syari, Bihari, Onkar, Donakde, Lam, Dalama, Oda, and Kannada. So those are the vowel signs. They are not vowels, they are vowel signs. Next one. But how did you make these vowels? You use these 3 letters of the Paintee, Uda, Ada, and Ed, and put one of the vowel signs with it, and that will actually make it a vowel. Okay? In this particular case, Ada, A, E, Ed, Syari, those 10, actually will show. Mukta is represented by Ada in this particular case. So you will see that 10, because when you actually look at Uda and Ed, they both have 3 of them. Uda has 3 sounds, Ada has 3 sounds, but Ada is also Mukta. It's never seen, but it is part of each Vyanjan letter to make it a sound. Okay. Other thing is, there are 3 vowel symbols which are called lagakar. Those are Bindee, Tippee, and Adhak. So in summary, what we actually talked about is, the Gurmukhee script has 35 letters. There are 7 different actually words. And then actually the first uda, ada, ed, sasa, haha is 1, yaya, rara, lala, wawa, rara are 2, and 3 are in the middle. Ka-word, cha-word, ta-word, ti-ta-word, they go with the first letter, pa-word. In other words, those are the different categories. And when you actually produce the sound of that one, as you are going to learn a little bit later, they use the same parts of the body, mouth, and from stomach where the air comes in to actually pronounce that word letters in that particular word. Okay, now actually let's talk about the sounds. In here, we are going to be talking about is, first of all, there's no sound without the vowels, so we are going to actually talk about vowel sound. Then we'll move on to actually consonant sound, and then we'll show you, how these sounds are modified by vowel signs, and such as, kanna, bihari, siari, etc., and vowel symbol, which are bindee, tippee, and adhak, etc. What I did in this particular chart, you are going to see this information on top of each one, then this one, so that you can use it as a reference, as I go through the presentation. All I did was listed those signs, which those 10 signs are, and vowel swords, which are vowels. Punjabi ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਗੁਰਮੁਖੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ 10 ਦੇ 10 ਹੀ ਉਹ ਲੈ ਦਿੱਤੇ, and then you will see the lagakans, bindee, tippee, and on each chart, so you can keep it in view for your reference. But like I said, pronunciation depends on vowel sounds. Gurmukhi and Punjabi depends upon phonics. Okay, all the tunis. And most of the time you will see that there is one tuni for each of the letters, but there are certain letters which are 2 tunis, and we'll go through that one later on. But the language beauty is, if you have only one tuni, so there is less confusion when you are actually coming into any pronunciation. And Gurmukhi is one of the best script which produces most of the tunings or sounds based on each of the letters. Each consonant letter of Gurmukhi Lipi has a mukta in it, that's why it has a sound. Without that vowel, it has no sound at all. Okay? The last point is, the vowel symbol modify those sounds. They make them the nasal sound, and sometimes they actually make it or double the sound of a letter, if you actually put that special symbol up there. Okay, now actually let's look at the relative length of each of the tuni. So I try to depict that one on this particular chart. So out of those 10 vowel sounds, you see that I show that there are 7 sounds which are longer, and then there are 3 sounds which are shorter. These are called short vowels. These are called all long vowels. So 7 long vowels, 3 short vowels. When you look at a short sound like is the long one, E is the long one, U is the long one. The long sound is almost a little bit more than the double of the short sound. Keep that in mind when you are going to be pronouncing it. Wherever you see that long vowel, try to elongate that sound according to these rules. The next one is, I talked about vyanjan, which are called consonants in English. So what kind of sound do they make? Take for example the word, the letter sasa. Sasa is the name of that word, but it has a sound depending upon the vowel that is used with it. So if you got a mukta with it, it's called sa, short a sound, sa. If you got adenu karna with it, sound, then it becomes sa. Satse de naal laga, so then it produces the sound of sa. Je de naal ed di siari wali sound lao तो ए बन जाता से. If you put the E sound, then it will become C. So, su, se, sa, so, saw. So keep that in mind. Vyanjans don't have their own sound. Their sound is only due to a vowel associated with it. But if you see a letter itself, alone in Gurmukhee, in Gurbani or Punjabi, if you are going to be making produce a sound of it, it is the combination of the vowel, mukta, eda in it, and that particular letter. So here are the rest of them, directly how they pronounce it. Kavar, kavar, gavar, kagar, ga, ka, sasa, kaka, kaka, gaga, kaganganga. Okay, and with these, not word, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. These are from the same word all the way up to the era, but the rest of the word I did not actually write it because I wanted to get it on one chart. But look at it, ka, same thing what we did for the sa, and goes all the way up to the rada, which is the last letter. So each sound will be similarly like ra, ra, re, ri, ru, ru, re, ra, ru, ra, etc. This chart is important because when we are going to be actually going to the next section, which is going to be etymology of words, there sometimes the words are put together with laga matra and other things where two vowel sound come in next to each other, and when they come in together, they actually form a new sound, the combination of those two sounds. So in order to actually analyze and see how to do that, so I have used a methodology where I would say that, okay, kaka, ka sound itself consists of the letter, and I put this symbol up there in front of it because it doesn't mean that it has no sound by itself. Its sound is because of this one. Same thing when you look at the ka. Kaka has no sound in it, but the sound came in from the vowel Okay. Same thing goes with every one of the other directly vowel sound. So it is important to recognize this particular symbol even when you are reading the book or you are going to go through the rest of the directly presentation in all of the 5 lessons. Sometimes I'll be doing the analysis of the word to show you why a particular word has this particular sound in it. Okay? Other thing I have done is, in the book, as well as I'm going to actually show you, we have come up with some pictures. In the mouth, how the tongue restrict, the air coming out of your stomach to form certain sounds, etc. And the parts of the mouth that are associated with it, to produce that particular sound are listed up here, and they are pictorially shown on the different figures which are listed up here. Okay. I would like to emphasize here another point, that when you look at it, ka varg, cha varg, ta varg, ta, pa, the middle 5 one, they use the same parts of the mouth and body to produce that particular sound. The rest of them are different parts of the body, and sometimes they mix the combination of, actually whatever is covered up here. Okay? Other thing, go back to that one. Other thing I wanted to actually do was, actually show you that the last letter of each of the middle sounds has a nasal sound associated with it. Okay? Like nganga, nyanya, nana, nanna, mama, na, nya, na, na, ma. Sound. They produce those sounds. Okay? But when you are going to actually use with the other two, actually 5 letters, the lines, udara, idi, sasa, haha, you will see there are different rules, and same thing happens to the last line, yayara, lalla, baba, dada, and we'll actually talk about in specific when we go to the lagak, etc., to produce those songs. One more thing I wanted to point on that chart, I'm sorry. Other thing is this particular fourth line, as I said, Gurmukhee Lipi is very good. It has only one sound associated with each of the letters. Except this particular, actually when you come to the middle. Or, there are some semi-vowels because of the use of that. It produces 2 sounds. If it's used as a first letter, it will always produce its original sound. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. But if you are going to be actually using it as a second or the last letter or any letter in a word, any place else, then it will have a sound which is of the preceding, the third letter. It's more like that. Take for example the example of dud. Dadenu ankad, tada, dud. I put that example up here. But it will be pronounced as dud, dada. Now tada is the second letter. It almost produces the same sound as the letter actually prior to that one, dada, dud. Thoda ja heavy karna hai, but it's more like the daily sound, and it happens in every case actually on the fourth letter of each of the words. Okay. Here are some of the basic fundamentals you should actually remember. And I'm going to show you, actually some of the pictures that are associated with it, but only the pa word, papa, papa, baba, baba, mama. That's the only place we close our lips. Rest of them we keep our mouth open. And sometimes you bite your tongue a little bit, but the mouth is still ta, ta, da, ta. So ra is a special sound which is more like a rara, raredi sound, but it also requires a special act or a stress, how you use your tongue, in this particular case. And this is the most difficult sound for the people who are born in other than, actually in India, or they are not, actually talking Punjabi ever since they are born. So they have sometimes hard time. And I'm going to show you, use this one as an example, how you can produce this particular song. Okay, next. Here are the pictures, we talked about it. And you can see, actually all the different, parts identified in that previous, actually matrix chart I showed you, where the tongue, actually should be used and how should it be placed and how you can use it to produce each of the word sound. So I'm going to go just to walk them through the all pictures, show those pictures. Ka word here. You can see the tongue's movement, it has changed. Cha word, ta word. You can see the ta word and pa word where the lips are closed. and Ra, the lunar sound. And here we come to the last sound, which I said, if you try to actually open your mouth and take the tip of the tongue and move it all the way back, as far as you can do, and then try to actually pronounce the sound of Rara, which is Ra. Ra is, when you are actually touching just the gum on top of your teeth, etc., and you softly say Ra. But when you are going to say Ra, now take the tongue all the way back and then snap it with the stress. Try to make the sound of Ra, Ra. So naturally you are going to come out with the Ra sound that way. Okay, next one. Okay, let's look at the lagakars, how do they actually affect the sounds? Okay, so there are 3 lagakars, which are, again, Bindee, Tippee, and Adhak. I put down, in this particular order, Bindee, Adhak, and Tippee. Okay, Bindee and Tippee both actually make nasal sound. Adhak is the one which doubles the sound. Okay, in this particular case, rather than having the nasal sound together, I put this one because Tippee almost is the combination of both of these. So that's why it has a nasal as well as it tries to actually double it, but it doubles it differently by putting 2 letter sounds together rather than the same letter repeated in the other. Okay. Adhak itself is not used in Gurwani throughout Gurwani. You will never see Adhak in Sri Guru Granth Sahib. However, even when you actually read Japji Sahib, when you are going to actually pronounce the word masakkat, you have to actually have the Adhak in there. You cannot actually pronounce it without the Adhak. Otherwise, you will actually say that maskat. So, you have to actually know where to actually put the Adhak, and you learn it from experience. That's the only way you can actually pronounce and then understand, what that word meaning is. Okay? But Bindee is quite often used. However, they are sometimes, actually the same letter. Take for example, word Shant. And Shant word is pronounced in Gurwani with the Bindee up there. Most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, because I think, the word itself appears in Sri Guru Granth Sahib around, 125, 126 times. And there are only about 5 to 7 different cases where it is not, actually written with the Bindee itself. And in a couple of cases, the meaning itself is different, where it is supposed to be pronounced without Bindee. But rest of the 5 out of 7, it got to be pronounced with the Bindee. So that gives you actually indication, the meaning is the same, so we should be pronouncing with the same kind of a sound, make the same kind of a sound. Other thing I want to point out is the Bindee itself in Gurwani is not like, in Punjabi, which actually comes out on the right hand of each of the laga. Because Bindee the sound it goes with all the laga. As a matter of fact, same thing happens with the Tippee, etc. It goes with the laga, but it goes with different lagas, and we'll actually talk about that one little bit later on. So here, just remember that one, that Bindee the barton the use of Bindee is quite often, but not all the places, and sometimes you have to actually put the bindi in there, actually in order to make that nasal sound. Take for example the first, I would say, the word or combination of words, which is ikonkar. There's no bindi written any place, but yet we actually pronounce it with a nasal sound. Okay? Here are some of the examples of the bindis. I'll actually talk about each one of them. Okay? It goes with actually everything and makes the nasal sound of ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ ਨੰਨੇ ਦੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਾਊਂਡ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨਾ ਵਾਲੀ ਸਾਊਂਡ so it is actually just like I use the word ਹੈ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜੇ ਬਿੰਦੀ ਲੱਗੀ ਆ ਹੈ now that na sound comes out of with the ਹੈ ਦਲਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ you have to actually pronounce that nasal sound. Okay? Other one, it does not go with a mukta. ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਅੱਖਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜੇ ਬਿੰਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ does not, ਨੰਨਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਬਿੰਦੀ, ਪੱਪਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਪਾਇਆ, ਕਾਕਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ, you cannot actually, ਤੱਤਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਤਾਂ you cannot actually put the bindi on that one, okay, mukta letters. Now the bindi, the location is different than how we use it in Punjabi. It is always before that laga. Frida, kinti, kitti, kinti ne kitti, jovan preet bin suk gaye kumlaye. Okay, jina nan nindriyavle, tina men ko aao. So in both cases, the bindi is on left hand side. And sometimes, actually they are put it on the right hand side. But if you look at the most Puratan Bina, handwritten Bina, it was consistently that way. But in the sharp way, Valiya Bina, holi, they have mixed it, actually, and changed it, actually, and that's because of the understanding of the people, who are doing it. And you will see difference between different sharp way, Valiya Bina. Now let's actually cover the other. Other case, actually, it just doubles the sound of that word which it comes before. Just like Ada, then other, Gaga. So it comes from Gaga, so Gaga follows that other, so it does it doubles the sound of Gaga. Ag. Asi kehne ag. Ag nahi kahida, ag. Ag. Gaga, Delhi, likhna hove, Hindi de vich they always do that. They will actually put down in Hindi. Adha lalla, pura lalla, ta Delhi, je asi Punjabi de vich ohi akhar likhna hove. Since we want to actually put the sound, put the stress, so we put down directly Adhak up here to make it Delhi. Okay? So in Punjabi you will see that. Another thing to notice is, it comes out, whatever the letter directly comes with it, chacha, that's double, but a piche, second letter हैगा, वो तो जरा पहला letter हैगा, वो they would use करते हैं cha वाली sound है, because they use the same parts of the mouth. So it's going to pretty much pronounce the same way, piche, marmole karna hega. Adhak, idhar dadda jehda udu pehla letter jehda hega, that will be, kyunki dassya si na jad bhi dadda kite bhi duje thaan te aave jad kite, so then it has a actually one letter before the third word sound, so that's how you do. So ag, akhar, adhak, ek, piche, ucha, shuddh, chakar, kutta. Next one, Tippee. Now it's a combination of both, and again here are the laga, mukta, siari, onkada, and the lankade. It's used with them, and most of the time, actually what sound it makes it, you have to actually look at the word after the tippee, not the one it is on. Babbe de siari utte bindi paya, you have to look at the next letter to look at it, actually what the, sound is going to be. For example, next letter is dada. In this case, it's dada is in this particular word, so it's going to make the na sound, bin, di, nane the sound mang banda haga. Okay? So, it also, so what it did is it put the na, the dadadi sound together to make it bindi. So it doubled it, but two different letters, not like the other, but it did make it nasal sound. So you always use the last letter of that particular word to make the second letter, which doubles that letter following the tippee. Okay? So here are some of the examples I use. Savang, Nadang, Veding, Tung, Sansar, Hinsa, Kungu, Rang, Sanjog, Panki, Panch, Sunni, Janya, Vanya, Akhand, Thand, Sant. On Sant word, same thing. So tata tata da 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 na na, so na na. Other thing to remember is the Persian words, they don't actually use the same rules directly like this. They kind of actually make the na sound, wherever actually tippee comes in, if it's a Persian word. And most of the words in Talang Rag, etc., you will see that, it's quite directly often. And when you are going to be pronouncing, you don't pronounce it like, it was a Sanskrit or Gurmukhee word or Punjabi word, so you will pronounce it as Didan. And here we were actually pronouncing it different. Sabhang, Nadang. Now let me show you actually why I say that. Here are some of the examples I did. The first letter, they don't have nasal sounds at the end because they use different nasal sound from here. Same thing happens with the last one. So take for example, haha. It always, doesn't matter what letter it is, if the last letter and a tippee, then you pronounce it not a Persian word. Then you will actually always use the nga sound, nga sound, from the last one. So, ahang, ahang. Okay, here, not the last one, so it is nanne di sound, mu, hando. Now, ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸੀਗਾ ਡੱਡਾ, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਨੰਨੇ ਦੀ ਆ ਗਈ, ਇੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਹਾਏ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਟਿੱਪੀ ਆ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਨਾ ਡੱਡਾ is the next word, ਡੱਡਾ 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 ਟੈਕਾ ਠੱਠਾ ਡੱਡਾ ਡੱਡਾ ਨਾਣਾ, ਸੋ ਨਾਣੇ ਦੀ ਸਾਊਂਡ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ ਹੰਡੋਲ. ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ I incline these letters because you don't want to actually make the nanna. You don't want hanadol nahi kehna aega. Han unu sound naane mangu nasal banauna aega. Handol. Hing. Gagge di sound nahi hing. Hahe de utte tippee. Te ganga. Je ganga last letter aega, then it gets doubled. Okay, same. This is a compound word, which is two words separate, put together. So that's why you pronounce it as ahang bod, ahang bod. Aithe hona tippee to baad mama siga, so mama gets doubled. Amev, ahang mev nahi enu padna. Like aithe ahang padya si, aithe hona amev padna hai. Mama double ka. Hans, Sansar, Sambhal, Papa, Papa, Baba, Papa, Mama. So you will see that. And same thing, actually, this is pretty much, actually, I got it out of the book, written by Professor Sukhjan Singh, and he has done a pretty good job, in explaining these. Okay, next one. Well, let's actually come to the last part, where I said, it is also important to learn how to pronounce, actually the numbers written in Gurmukhee or Punjabi. So there are, actually what I did is I showed the table. First thing is to recognize what these numbers are. So I put down in English, and here are the Punjabi letters, actually, or Gurmukhee numbers. Okay, 1 is written like this, 2 is like. So this is more of a symbol of 1. How this is an English symbol, this is the Gurmukhee symbol. So recognition is important, just like Udayar ID Sasa. So numbers should be recognized so that you should be able to read it. Okay, so I put down all 50, what they look like. They are all 50 on first chart, and I covered all the way up to 100 on the next chart. Next one. Now let's look at it, how to pronounce it, and I'll go through this one quickly. So we are going to call it Ik. Here is the Punjabi representation, and here is how it is written in Gurmukhee script. Ik with Adhak, with stress up there. So I'll actually go and read all the solve, actually go through that one, so that in case you ever come to this particular video or this module, you will know how to pronounce them. Ik, do, tin, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Look at this one, and I also put the transliteration. If you use the key, you will be able to pronounce it. If you don't, if you are not that fluent in Punjabi, you can also use that one. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 31 भी कह देता है, 31 भी कह देते हैं, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. I wanted to actually point out, actually throughout, if you look at it, you see the use of Adhak. To pronounce it, you got to use Adhak. So Gurbani ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਨੰਬਰ ਆਏ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੀ ਪੈਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ. Same thing with the putting in Bindee, etc. You got to do that. Okay. 42 लले ਦੇ ਪੈਰ ਤੇ 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 99 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100. So here we completed everything. After that, since we all know, if we are going to go to some anga of Sri Guru Granth Sahib, there are 1430 angs. So we should also learn how to actually go beyond 100. And if you are going to go after 100, so what you can say is, you can say, Ik saw ik, this means 101, and you can keep on going like that, Ik saw do, Ik saw 10, you can go up to 200, then 201, then 901, 902, all the way up to the 1000. Same thing happens when you go then you say 1000 is called hazar, so then you actually say 1001, 1002, 1002, then so on up to all the way 99,999. And same thing happens with, when you reach 100,000, which is called lakh, 1 lakh 1, 1 lakh 2, 1 lakh. So if you want 84 lakh Juna, you want to know about that one, if there's the number, you can always go all the way to crore or whatever, the number that increases, the same rule applies to that one. And that pretty much actually completes it. And it is important again that the sounds are important of each of the letters. And remember that the sounds are due to the vowels themselves, okay? And most of the time, the vowel itself, you may not see the whole vowel, like ed nusiaris makes the sound e. When you put it with kaka, you are going to say ke, but you are not going to actually put the ed in there, just the siari. If you are going to say see the nanna sound in some place, ਭੁੱਖਿਆਂ ਭੁੱਖ ਨਾ ਨੰਨਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐੜਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਲੁਪਤ ਹੈਗਾ is hidden in there. And I sometimes make the point, saying that the Gurmukhs don't actually show themselves, but they are so important. They run, actually our lives. Okay. Same way, if you're going to learn how to read Gurmukhee, etc., you got to understand how these Gurmukhs work, vowels work, and how they produce the sounds, etc. Okay. Thank you very much. So that was our first lesson.